Yeah.
Questions?
I will ask you a question. Just to say, here at the World Transformed, I found a lovely bar to plot up in, and Ed Miliband's sitting over there. But joining us now is John Harris, isn't it?
It is.
And you can address the issue of austerity. We're here, People's Assembly, to promote this demonstration against the Tory Party conference next Saturday and their austerity policies.
Well, about 10 days ago, I was outside County Hall in Taunton in some £1 million of public services. One of the contributing factors to that is the fact that it's revenue support grant, the money it gets from government. 5 years ago, it was about £90 million, now it's £9 million, and next year it'll be nothing, right? And standing there was a very sort of affecting, emotional thing, watching these cuts get rubber stamped through, by a council which to a large extent had its hands tied. This is a central government thing chiefly, right? Not wholly, but chiefly.
So they're calling this sending out the cuts.
Yeah,
they're getting the local authorities to do their work.
Delegate them. So it's a classic palm it on someone else and they take the blame, right? And because not my bit of the media, right? I write about so-called local government all the time. Many of my colleagues do at The Guardian. But in most of the national press, you don't really read about it. A lot of political journalists see the words local government and they sort of glaze over. Well, I don't call it local government. It's just public services, right? It's social care. It's libraries. It's very, very important things in people's lives, like litter collection, right? If you want to destroy someone's sort of sense of optimism and sort of connection to where they live, let litter pile up in the streets. Sort of ambient austerity. And it's ongoing. I remember a George Osborne budget about 6 years ago. And I recall the front pages of two right-wing newspapers said the end of austerity, right? And the point is it goes on, and it feels to me like it's deepening, it's getting worse.
I think you're absolutely right. And the question that I have been asking myself recently is, where's all the money gone? When we see all these huge cuts, we see Chris Grayling's amazing decimation of the probation service, which saved £1 billion.
Yeah.
We're still not addressing down the deficit.
We're not.
There's no money being saved. Where's it going? What are they spending it on?
Well, everyone's got their own personal gripes, If speech and language therapists are being taken out of schools, which they are, why are we spending all that money on a ridiculous rail link between London and Birmingham to shave 20 minutes off the journey, right? That strikes me as a misuse of funds. But equally, as much as politicians of all kinds sort of once a year talk about how much money is removed from the economy or from the exchequer, from the public accounts by tax dodging corporations and all that, we're not doing anything about that. One of the tragedies of Brexit is we'll be able to do even less about it. There's a whole sort of jumble of issues, but the basic point is that this has turned into a social catastrophe, I think. It's painful, upsetting, emotional stuff. Kids' life chances, the chances people have of living a dignified old age, very, very fundamental things about what it is to live in a civilized society are being taken away. And I'm glad there are people out there making noise about it.
Thanks very much. Can I just ask you, what have you been doing here today?
What have I done today?
Is it something new?
We've got a new video. We've in the midst of a new series of the videos we make for The Guardian called Anywhere But Westminster, which have been very much about what's happening in towns up and down the country in terms of austerity and cuts and what it does to how people feel. So one of the stories in the second video was about a school in Brown Hills near Walsall in the Midlands, which is about to hit a £200,000 deficit and lose a lot of its teaching assistants and speech and language therapy and all that. It's really the human stories of austerity. Because in the end, this isn't really about numbers, right? It's about lives. And I know that sounds sort of pious and people's poet and all that, but it kind of needs saying.
Look, we've been, I was just mentioning about Danny Dorling's research and the 120,000 extra dead people. This is something that the People's Assembly have been pushing and pushing and pushing because of the work we've been doing to try and save the NHS. We will be able to judge them by the piles of the dead.
Yeah. Or by, kids with special needs who would have had amazingly different outcomes if someone had bothered to fund the money. Think of how many children's centres we've lost. I mean, that's a huge social catastrophe. I grew up I became a parent in a world where children's centres were dependable. My daughter went to one. They were universal public services in action, amazing things. Parenting classes, nutrition, the simple business of daycare and the crucial early parts of education. In Somerset, there used to be about 28 Sure Start centres. Do you know how many there are now? 4. There you go.
Outrageous.
It's grim.
It's
It's
outrageous.
grim. Anyway, keep on pushing.
Thanks very much, mate. Thanks for talking to us. Nice to meet you.
So that's gone on Facebook already?
We are live on the People's Assembly Facebook page.
Well done. Right.
Thank you, mate.